Alright folks, welcome to another beer review, and today we're going over to Full Circle, and this is a can of Midas Touch, which is a coffee porter at 5%, brewed in collaboration by Goldbox Roastery. Anything else on the back? Hops are HBC 472, and then coffee beans are Colombia Aponte Honey. Is that honey or is that a variety of coffee? Let's have a look. Anyway, skip that. I actually had this at Full Circle's tap room on my little jaunt to Newcastle with Mersey Beers and Blue Nose Beer Reviews. Full Circle, we don't do things by half. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. Yeah, really like the artwork. I mean, of course, Full Circle have got their identity with the logo and they incorporate it into the can design. Well, every logo is incorporated into a can design in some way. But I'm really liking this. Now, t-shirt with that, obviously not metallic because, you know, but yeah, just really like that. It just looks like a fantastic little can, doesn't it? So, pick this up from Centrails, which is the bottle shop in the train station in, can't remember what train station, I don't want to say Gateshead, Newcastle, what train station, I'm sure there's multiple train stations in Newcastle city centre, but yeah, very handy, because who doesn't love a train beer when they're travelling? And God, my nails are either dirty or just very misshapen, I need to cut them. In fact, my toenails have ripped a hole in my sock, so that sock's ruined because I'm just too lazy. But anyway, you didn't need to know that. So yeah, really nice little tap room. One thing I would say is though, on the day that we were there, not the most varied selection, it has to be said, but still very good. Had some fine Full Circle ales, and then I had what was it? It was one of their like more well-known core beers in Mean-Eyed Cat. Some great places to drink in Newcastle, would very much recommend. And keep with that Newcastle connection, that was an amalgamation of the words collection and connection then, because I can't speak because I'm illiterate. I've got a Wylam glass, although upon reflection, I'm not the biggest fan of this shape of glass, but I do like this stemmed glassware. But anyway, beer in a glass then, looks exactly what you'd expect a coffee porter to look like. I did actually pick up a few coffee porters whilst in Newcastle. This one from is it Almasty, and then the one from Wylam Macchiato. But I just ended up drinking Macchiato because I was going to have a bit of like a Newcastle coffee beer off. Catchy title. That's why I should be in marketing. But that didn't happen, so I thought, fuck it, I'm in the mood. It's Monday night after first day of work, recovering from a weekend. Well, that's 2 weekends in a row, which is very rare for me in recent years, for me to actually be doing stuff on a sociable level. We're in Manchester. Went to Manchester with my dad to watch A Certain Ratio at New Century, which, by the way, New Century, fantastic venue. And is it called Sadler's Square, where Sadler's Cat is, which is like one of the most pretentious tap rooms, not tap room, even though it's owned by Cloudwater. One of the, there's a hole in this sock as well, not even near my toes. It's probably because I'm lazy. When I like putting the recycle out, I just go out in my socks. Or it could be my trainers doing it. I don't know. These are questions that don't need to be addressed in a beer review. But yeah, Sadler's Cat Bar. I have a good selection, but it's a little bit pretentious. But I'm pretentious, so it doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to say is, really great venue, and A Certain Ratio. I know it's a Newcastle beer, but stick with me. A Certain Ratio, quite frankly, I'm saying this as if like, come here. A Certain Ratio. A Certain Ratio, quite frankly, one of the best live. I keep looking over there. One of the best, and stop doing that, that's dickish. One of the best, I've done it again. One of the best live bands that I've ever seen. And criminally overrated, especially in the context of well-known Mancunian bands, especially from that era. I mean, completely overshadowed by New Order, even though you could argue that A Certain Ratio were doing that diverse music. Well, they've always done that. It started off a bit like post-punk, a bit like Joy Division, as many bands did. Even, you know, sound like Joy Division before Joy Division were Joy Division. And I don't mean when they were Warsaw. Got them sounding like a really annoying Radio 6 DJ. Yeah, criminally underrated, and the band, one of the bands that probably did the whole New York dance funk. So, well, they were doing funk anyway. Stop sounding like you fucking a Radio 6 presenter who's always featured in every documentary about Manchester music scenes. But yeah, criminally underrated, and doing the whole like New York dance sort of stuff before New Order, and they never get the plaudits they deserve. Although they're one of those bands I reckon people, well, mind you, because story time now. It just so happened that my brother's band Apostles, go check them out if you like your indie pop, had a gig that night as well. Although I got the A Certain Ratio tickets as a Christmas present, and unfortunately my brother's band Apostles were playing that same night, so we weren't able to go watch them, but we, you know, went to the venue, caught up with them, and here's an interview that I recorded. I can be funny sometimes. I've got to give myself some credit. I'm a bit witty. It doesn't always, it never always hit. In fact, I miss more than I hit, to be fair, and that's you could say that for a lot of things. So yeah, we caught up with the guys at Soundcheck, and like the promoter of the event was like, I was going, oh, so you to me, you're not going to be at the gig then? It's like, no, we've got another gig that we already had, and we're watching A Certain Ratio. And he's like, who? I mean, if you're a gig promoter based in Manchester, it is what it is. But criminally underrated band, very, very talented, and I don't think they do many tours so far this year. But if you get a chance to watch them, I think they're even playing at Butlins, then check him out, because so good. Anyway, that was quite the M6 diversion. Witty. Give me a job on Radio 6, or maybe NTS Radio. I think I'd be good for NTS Radio. But I do have my own musical podcast, which lasted a few episodes and just never got around to doing another one. Maybe I might do A Certain Ratio special. So a really boring podcast about really awesome music. I can't remember the name of my own podcast. And I won't put the link in the description, so I don't know why I'm fucking mentioning it. And if I do, check out my brother's band. Should we just get on with the beer? It's breathed in the glass now. Jet Black, as I said, one finger's worth of well, it's hot, and it's just a lining of a beige foam, looking like a nice black coffee out of a Tassimo. I'm not laughing because I found myself funny. I'm laughing because I hate myself. And that made me laugh. It's got that sort of like burnt, smoky, coffee-like character. A little bit of a toffee, cinder toffee. Like licorice as well. But it does have a nice sort of like a dark toffee sort of character. There's a certain greenness coming from the coffee used. Oh, it smells very, very good. And we had it on cask as well, which it was Very, very good on cask. Let's see if it translates well into can. Drinking this at room temperature. Fucking birds outside. Not a derogatory term for women. Chirping. And I'm not saying that women chirp. But they can if you make them. And I don't mean that in like a... Stop trying to sound like Mark Goldbridge. So I'm trying to be a Radio 6 presenter. Trying to sound like Mark Goldbridge. Just be you, Peter. Be yourself. And that's my message to everyone else watching this. Just be yourself. Which I'm never being myself on camera, because I don't think anyone in the history of knowing me has ever had me talk to them like this. It's like my customer services role. The way I talk to customers on the phone, it's just all an act, because I'm not personable. I'm crippled with anxiety. I do genuinely think that I've got body dysmorphia, and I low-key wish I was an American Jew or a New York Jew, but we can all wish. Oh, and I also wish I had Italian heritage. But let's just carry on with the beer. Cheers. Shut up. Obviously, I'm comparing this to my memories of it on cask, and the first thing you will notice is the body is not as sort of smooth and rich as the cask version was. That being said, it's got a lovely body, especially for a porter. In fact, it does have a really nice smoothness. To me, it's got very gentle, subtle flavours. Definitely picking up the coffee in abundance. It's a beautiful coffee bean flavour. Does give you, it's like you've got a really nice coffee bean, or selection of coffee beans, because if you ground one coffee bean, you're not going to get much coffee, and if you do, it's going to be watery as piss. Unnecessary language in these videos. I need to really reassess myself. I'm, you know, halfway. I was going to say halfway to being 40. I wish I was halfway. I mean, I look like I'm halfway to being 40, but I'm halfway between. I'm 35. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm approaching 40, for fuck's sake, and this is my life. And if it wasn't for coffee, cigarettes, and alcohol, and an unhealthy obsession with OnlyFans, who knows where I'd be? Probably in a much better, prosperous place, to be honest. Anyway, back to the beer in hand. See, that was witty, but people wouldn't realise it until I brought it to people's attention. I'm sounding like Tony Wilson, keeping that Manchester branch going. Postmodern beer reviews with Peter Davis. And I've just doxed myself. Although most people know my name anyway. It's just this life, isn't it? Don't know. Getting a nice dark chocolate flavour. Just clearly adjusted my bollock on camera. The more I'm drinking it, the tastier it's getting. This is a really nice coffee porter. The coffee really shines. Obviously you're getting that like freshly ground, freshly brewed coffee. You're getting an almost tangy berry-like character coming from the bean as well. It's a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of dark chocolate. I don't know whether this is because I really want it, but I'm getting a little bit of a Malteser flavour. Do love Maltesers. Very gentle bitterness on the back end. A little bit dry, especially coming the aftermath of the coffee. We've all seen aftermath of too much coffee. Brown ales do, lads. Oh, this is fantastic. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you want it a little bit more decadent, then if it's available, of course, drink it on cask. But this is it's hitting all the notes. And, you know, I don't say this in the sense of, well, I'm a little bit of an expert on this, but I drink a lot of coffee beers, and I'd like to think I know what a good coffee beer is and what a good coffee beer isn't. It's not too like green in that coffee bean sense, but at the same time it's not too subtle. Although the beer itself, it's very well rounded, doing too many gestures with my hands, and it's just a very satisfying praying now. Just sit on your fucking hands. It's a very satisfying, subtle yet flavoursome and ever so robust coffee porter. And I remember when Adam, because it was Adam who got his, when you, I don't know about my fellow people who don't really use Untappd regularly, and when you're with people who do use Untappd, especially those twats who pay for Untappd, and if they're out with other people who do have Untappd, I mean, we do this anyway because we're just generous people. We'll always let each other have a taste of each other's beer, and then they do it so they can just go, oh, I need those badges and those unique check-ins. It's all joking aside. I use Untappd to find out what's on a tap list of a bar, or if there's like 2 bars and I could only go to one, which one's got the better tap list. It helps you find places as well. So I do use Untappd. I've not checked in for like 2 years. I keep saying to myself, I'll start checking in because it's a good point of reference, isn't it, really? But yeah, Adam got this beer first, and he took a sip of it. He looked me dead in the eye. Well, it's hard to look me direct in the eye considering one eye's looking that way and one eye's looking that way. I could have actually had that fixed when I was a kid, but I was too afraid. They actually flew in like a specialist from across the country, not like internationally, to actually sort of like adjust my eye, because I got hit in the eye by a tennis ball as a child, and it sort of like knocked it a bit. So one eye's looking at you, the other eye's looking for you. You've got to take the piss out of yourself, or else, you know, it takes the venom out of people who take the piss out yourself. Although I will never jokingly refer to myself as Ed Sheeran. That does really fuck me off. Ginger twat. But I digress. So he looked me in the eye and said, "That's a you beer." I took a sip and I was like, yes it is. And I'm drinking it now, and I still think it is. That's a lovely, lovely coffee porter. Nothing too abrasive, not overly sort of like mineralic, if that's a word. If not, it should be. And yeah, if you like your coffee beers, then highly, highly recommended. Pick this up for £4.50, which I think is pretty damn good, to be fair. If it wants to focus. No, it doesn't. And yeah, Goldbox coffee roasters. So of course, I love it when they actually include the coffee roasters, cafe, whatever, supplier whose coffee beans they use for the beer. I really, really like that. I like it when people put the artists of the label on the can, which it might be on here, I'm not too sure, because as well as my eyes not being able to look in the same direction both at the same time, they also struggle to read, which would tell me that I need to actually get a proper eye. Well, I need to get my eyes retested. I just keep using like a glasses prescription from about 4 years ago when I get new glasses. But it is what it is. I'm a flawed eccentric, and that's giving myself way too much credit. So I'm going to take my socks off. I'm going to throw them in the bin because both socks have got holes in, and the sackers are really nice socks. I just realised the turn-ups on my corduroy pants are a bit too high. I'm trying to say as many wanky, hipster, pretentious things as I possibly can. But I'm going to leave that here. So, yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. Highly recommended. Go check out Full Circle. Go check out Goldbox. And, yeah, if you tried it, let me know your thoughts, opinions down below. And I shall hopefully see you later.